Welcome to Leading for Wellness. I'm Liesl Bernard, CEO of Colon Executive Search. Each week, we'll dive into the journeys of visionary wellness entrepreneurs, uncovering their secrets to success. Get ready for insightful conversation that will inspire you to elevate your business and prioritize your well-being. Let's dive in. Hi, Lisa. I am so grateful that you have time to speak with us today on the Leading for Wellness podcast. I've admired you. I met you 2 years ago at the Summit program in Ojai, and I've been using your amazing products for the last couple of years, and I'm so excited to have a chance to talk to you today. So welcome to the Leading for Wellness show.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, I'm so happy to be here, and also thanks for being so patient with me to
Oh,
be here.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Really excited about our conversation today. I'd love you to share just a little bit about what you've created with Beaming and most recently with Chroma for listeners that may not know about you.
Yeah, so I've been in the wellness space specifically around creating healthy, functional products. Products that help us feel good, to help us, products that nourish us, using superfoods and adaptogens and putting them into combinations that are like that fuel you, but that you also look forward to. And when I started in this capacity, call it 14, 15 years ago, it was really with the premise of like, how do I help make healthy taste amazing? And how do I do it in a way that it's really approachable and you don't just have to be a wellness junkie to fall in love with it or feel the benefits of eating well, but that I wanted, how to bring everybody in and how do we even get our kids to eat healthier? And it was the bigger sort of why behind everything that I've done is helping people understand how much power we have over our health. And we take it for granted.
Uh-huh.
Really, really is how we, eat, drink, and think. And so being more mindful about what we put in our bodies, and our health starts there. That's the foundation of our health, is what we're eating, how we're thinking, and how we're moving our bodies, really. And so if 80% of our health we control, and I don't think people really realize that. And I think that that's something that is incredible. So my whole purpose in what I've done over these last 15 years has been helping create foods that people crave because they make them feel so good. And you feel nourished and you're doing something good for your body, but you don't actually feel like you're sacrificing. Working backwards from there, 15 years ago, I launched the first superfood cafe in the country called Beaming in Del Mar, California, here
Uh-huh.
now. And everyone thought I was nuts. And I was, because you have to be a little nutty to be an entrepreneur. And I was going through divorce at the time. I had 3 little kids. I didn't have a dollar in my name, but I had a big vision. And I wanted to create a place that people could come and get really delicious, healthy smoothies and packaged salads and delicious, high integrity, gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods and like really cool superfood snacks and juices and elixirs and all these things. And I just couldn't find anything anywhere in the country that was done well. And I thought, it was during the time when everyone was doing juice cleanses, which I'm sure
Uh-huh.
you're a fair share in its time. And we all did. And we were drinking 222 grams of sugar a day. And yes, it was fruits and vegetables, but it was still high sugar. And there was no fat and there was no fiber and there was no
No
protein.
protein. Yeah.
And I was like, this is crazy. What are we doing? Like, what are we really learning from this? How are we transforming our health from this? Is this just to lose weight and fit in our skinny jeans for the weekend? Or is there another way we can do this, which is really about making friends with food and nourishing ourselves, that we're setting ourselves up for long-term success, not just a short-term weight loss fad? And so all those things kind of came together for me to launch this superfood cafe called Beaming. And
Loved it, by the way. That was like my go-to place after every workout. I had to go get my smoothie or my chia or whatever that was on the menu that day. I loved all of that stuff.
no, we had really good stuff. Thank you. And it was a really cool concept to bring to life. I'm a foodie too. So, you know, one of my favorite things with travel and such is just I love good food. So for me, I was trying to marriage kind of um that really delicious food with really healthy ingredients.
Mhm.
And I think we did it well.
It was amazing.
So well that I was able to grow that to 10 locations and ended up expanding into LA very fast and partnered with Equinox and opened one at Southwest Airlines Airport. But I think leading into that, I had started other businesses, but I had never started something that I required outside capital. And it was that big. And that was that like opening a cafe. I'd never run a cafe. I had no experience running a cafe. I had no experience in food service, production of food. Um, had never raised money before. I mean, I had all the things that were like, yeah, like that you would think that you would need to pull it off. But what I had was that conviction and that passion for wellness that I really wanted to help people take control of their health. And despite the fact that I was going through divorce and had three little kids and no money, I always say it was a divine intervention. It was bigger than me. And I had to do it. I had to bring this idea to life. And we came out with, these delicious smoothies and the first like food cleanse because I thought that this juice cleanse was crazy. And I was like, we've got to eat food. We have to nourish it.
Mm.
It has to be protein, fat, and fiber. We need a really nice macronutrient profile. And I had gone to nutrition school and other things leading up to this, but as far as running a business like this, I didn't have any of that skill set. And it took off and it became the most successful concept in the country. And it really overnight, and
Mm-hmm.
I laugh about it a little bit because it was in Del Mar, California, that very few people have ever heard of. Maybe they've heard of the racetrack, you know.
Yeah.
And so
And it was like tucked away there in the middle of nowhere, and there were
behind
always a line out the door. Yeah.
behind McDonald's, I mean, we were
Mm-hmm.
doing more volume than anything that was somewhat equivalent in New York. And people people hadn't seen culinary smoothies,
Mm-hmm.
sprouted almond milk and using chia and spirulina and mushrooms, and maca and all these superfoods and adaptogens that no one had ever heard of at the time. So it was definitely, we were very ahead of our time. And it was a great brand. And I built that to 10 locations. But I had a bigger vision, and my vision was how can I take the good of what these cafes are doing and all the lives that we're reaching and of all ages. And I wanted to bring that concept into the pantry. I wanted to help people have access to these kinds of foods anywhere you are. And we're such a jet setting lifestyle and we're all always on the go. And even if we're sitting on Zoom calls all day, whatever it is, life is just getting busier and busier.
And you nourish yourself with the right food. Yeah.
And
Wherever
so,
you are. Yeah.
yeah, and I was like, God, beaming was amazing. And I want to do another concept like it. But that's a very hard business to scale. And, the margins are small. We're working with organic ingredients. It's highly perishable. If you don't sell it within 2 days, you have to throw it away. People are hard, staffing that, especially in LA. I mean, there was a lot of things that was not the easiest business, but it was doing really good things. And so it was like, how can I take the good of this and reach more people? And the best way to do that was to recreate a lot of those concepts in a powder based form that you could have in your pantry, that you could make a delicious smoothie or a bone broth or a porridge or an adaptogen latte or an elixir from the comfort of your home while you're on Zoom calls all day, while you're chasing kids around. And moms who don't have time, I was one of those moms where making mac and cheese or peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for your kids and you're eating a crust of, the sandwiches, old cold mac and cheese. Like every mom can relate to that. And
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to create food that all you need is water. And you could have this nourishing high protein broth or smoothie or, elixir or snack or something that you crave and that you feel good, but you also isn't taking away from the busyness of life,
Yeah.
fueling you to show up in life.
That is so visionary because there's just not that many options. And, I think what you created with Chroma is exactly that. You have the detox program, but then you also have the matchas and the broths that you could take, while you travel. And it's amazing. So,
Thank
question
you.
I have for you, I know that you went through a challenging time in the exit with Beaming. And I know you've learned some, you've shared on other podcasts some of the lessons you learned in that process. And you obviously had the desire again to start another company and to make that successful. And I find that so inspirational because most people would give up after a challenging time like that. What inspired you to again have the guts to go out there, find new investors, and start a whole new brand?
It was a lot. Hmm. So I think, in life, adversity is a gift if we're open to the gift. And whatever the situation is, whether it's a divorce, the loss of a job, an illness, whatever it may be, within there is a gift. Losing my home in the fires, right? There's
Uh-huh.
a gift in all of it. And I knew that when things did not play out as I had hoped with beaming, um, I needed to do some deep work to understand how did I get here and what are my opportunities for growth so that I never end up here again. And so I did a lot of just deep soul searching, and it started with accountability. And it was more than just, I mean, I still would say I built the best concept in the country, and
Uh-huh.
I'm very proud of that. And
Yeah.
I don't think anything has ever been done better. And someday I'm going to have to do it again. It's still
Yeah,
in,
absolutely. Please. Yeah. There's
and
nothing
then
like
we're going to have to do it again. But and it wasn't about, oh, you expanded too fast or you did this. It was less about the tactical. There was this intuitive knowing that something in my subconscious caused this outcome.
Mhm.
And I needed to go heal that. I needed to go find out what my little
That
world.
is so courageous. That is so courageous to have that sense of self-reflection.
I mean, because at the end of the day, yeah, like I had the wrong board and I had, the wrong partners, but I did that, right? That's not, so I'm the one that allowed the board to be there. I'm the one that allowed the board to bully me, right? I allowed these things to happen. I didn't stand up for myself. I didn't go get a lawyer to protect myself. I didn't do the things. No, I was very naive and so very trusting. So you learn some hard lessons there. But there were things in there that I needed to really understand, um, what prevented me from having the success that I could have and should have had with that brand because it had everything going for it. And I made some mistakes that cost me the business, and it brought me to my knees, and I lost everything financially, and I lost, I mean, my ego, completely shattered, which is not a terrible thing when
Which is kind of a gift, in a
to
weird way.
an ego, but like really get to the point of like,
Mhm.
oh my God, like I remember thinking, am I a one hit wonder? Like
Yeah, it really affects your self-esteem. And I think especially as a woman, that's really difficult.
it was brutal. It was brutal.
Hmm.
It was like, who am I now without this brand? And there was so much deep work. And one of the things too that I think is such an important point to mention on this, and I think everybody can relate to it, is you can't rush healing. And so as much as I was like, okay, we're good now, had enough tears, done a lot of therapy, went to Hoffman, did all my things. I'm like, are we good now? Can we ready
Can
to
we get on with it again?
and I had to learn that it doesn't work that way. I had to learn, like, actually, you can't rush your healing. And it's not that you sit in it forever. And I was not a victim, but there was work that needed to happen before I could create again, as much as all I wanted to do was create again, which was also a little bit of an escape route because I was like, all right, we're good. And it took me about 3 years to really do the healing, to come back and really come to life. It's not that I didn't dabble and play with different ideas and get in the kitchen and, do all my kind of mad scientist stuff. But before I was really ready, the idea to market and go present it and raise money, I really had to be in a super healthy place. And I
And what were the main things that came out of that for you? Like what are the main I guess if you don't mind sharing, the
Yeah,
self-reflection. And I think for a lot of women it's self-worth.
yeah.
It's maybe not feeling, maybe having the imposter syndrome. I think a lot of us struggle with that. What did you come out of that with and how is
Self-worth.
it different this time?
Self-worth was a big one. And anyone that
Uh-huh.
knew me would have assumed that I was super confident and had, lots of, yeah. But underneath, I didn't feel worthy. But actually didn't even know that I didn't feel
Yeah.
worthy.
It's
Like,
so subtle sometimes, right?
yeah, I had to really go. And then I had this other thing. I don't know if this is like TMI, but my parents were really critical, and it was always felt like nothing was ever good enough. And I've had this reflection before that the board that I had assimilated, nothing I ever did was good enough. And it was almost like I recreated my childhood with my board. And it
Yeah.
was constantly just beating me down of didn't matter how much success we had and how many celebrities we had and that we were the most successful concept. And like it didn't matter how much good was happening and what press articles and all the amazing things that were happening. It was never good enough. And it was just a beat down over and over. And I recreated that dynamic with my board. So, like, that was the kind of stuff that I was like, whoa,
Mhm.
I can't ever be in this situation again. I've got to go heal me and find that self worth.
So you're creating something different next time around. You know
So,
what I find really interesting about that is I think often we go to therapy and we think that the things we're recreating from our childhood is only in personal relationships. But, I think what you're saying here is that very often we create that same childhood experience in the business environment or in a parenting relationship or whatever the situation may be, and that it's not limited to romantic relationships. And that is a huge self reflection that, I admire you for.
it's huge. I mean, and I think spot on, right? Because they're not mutually exclusive. It's still about human behavior and interpersonal relationships, whether it's romantic or business or friends. So I think I had the aha moment. I was like, wait a second, what's happening in my personal love relationship is not any different actually than what's happening over here, which was sort of that big, go to Hoffman now moment. For anyone who doesn't know Hoffman, it's a 1 day retreat. Lisa, I don't know if you've been, and but it's a 1 day retreat that's got a lot of publicity now. When I went, it wasn't, a big kind of all the celebrities go kind of thing. It was really, it's just a place you go and you heal the relationships with your caretakers. And you go and you do some deep, deep work for 7 days. And it's intense. But it's powerful. And there's lots of places like that you can do, but that happened to be one of many things that I did that was all part of the journey to really get to that place of real self-love. And it's an ongoing thing.
Hmm.
It's not something you snap your fingers and you're like, okay, now I love me. but I did it. I got myself to a place where I could then go out and bring this new concept, Chroma, to life. But I do remember, because you mentioned sort of the imposter syndrome. I remember when I started raising money for Chroma, which is a very fun story, crazy story. But as I started to get these really big names to invest in the brand, I remember being like, wait, who am I? Like,
Mm.
how am I going to be that person that they think that I am to go do this? Because they were like, I was like idolizing these people. And I remember having this real sort of like imposter syndrome of like, can I really go be that person that they see in me? Um, and over time, I got very comfortable with who I am as a leader and as an entrepreneur, and became very comfortable that yes, it's if not me, then who, right?
Mhm.
And
How
there,
did you do self-talk in that process? Because I think there's a lot of women that can benefit from your journey in hearing that. How did you get out of that space where you didn't really feel your worth, and then being able to get money from very, very influential leaders?
I don't know if this is how a psychologist would say it, but for me, it was just about doing. It was that reinforcement and just over and over like, well, wait a second. They're believing in me and they're believing in me and they're believing in me and they're believing in me. So like clearly there's something to believe in. Right. And it wasn't, again, I had done a lot of healing to get to the point. So it wasn't like that. It wasn't coming from here to here.
Yeah, yeah.
A little bit of a, okay, yeah,
Reprogramming. Yeah.
yeah, I am the person. And really, I think what is so important that we women don't do a great job. Men are really good at this. We are so bad about celebrating all of our amazingness.
Hmm.
So bad about looking in the mirror and seeing how beautiful we are. We find what isn't okay. And that we're just like programmed that way. And men are not that way.
No.
Men, and you're like, do you not see that you need Botox right here? It's really clear to me, but they're fine. They don't see, they don't see the fact that they need the Botox. And they don't see that they've got this belly that we would be horrified over, right?
Mhm.
And so you're like, huh, like I think, there's this aspect of women and part of it's what makes us, so amazing because we just are constantly, raising the bar and expectations. But there also is that like, how do we really, we're being told all the time beautiful things, whether it's you're so beautiful, I love your energy, I'm so inspired by you. Whatever it is, we're constantly giving each other that. I don't know that we know how to receive it.
That's true. Yeah.
And I think that I finally started to receive it. And I was like, these people are believing in me and this concept, and they're betting on me as the jockey to do this. And so it was that like eventually was like, yeah, I am the one to do this. And I really started to receive it.
And
And
how have things changed for you this time around with investors, and your personal branding is phenomenal, by the way, so, and I think that has a lot to do with you feeling great about you as well.
so something I think is really important for every female entrepreneur, especially, and I don't know that a lot of men will get this concept, but I think we women will, is if as a founder, especially in a small business, and when I that you're could be 10 million, 20 million, but where you are the center of the business, your business is absolutely fed by you, your energy, your self-worth, your passion, if you're in a bad space, the business is in a bad space.
Mhm, mhm.
It is not mutually exclusive, and really understanding the how much you as the founder influence the success of the business, the dynamic within the company, the interpersonal relationships within the company, what energy is being put out into the world, and what the customer feels. It's all if there's an exchange happening that you cannot underestimate. And
Yeah.
if it's not okay, the business isn't okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
And your customers are not okay because they feel it as well. Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. The business
Mhm.
is not okay because the customers, and it's something that Joe Dispenza's work, et cetera, would be able to, speak to this as well. But like, it is that energy that you put out. I mean, it was really the concept of my beaming the brand, which if
Yeah.
I'm not beaming, you as the founder are not beaming, and you are not radiating, and you are not fueling the business with your passion and your why and your reasons for why you're bringing this into the world. Your team won't be able to. They're going to feed off of you,
Mhm.
that energy, and then the customers that you're speaking to are gonna feel that too. So um, I don't remember what the question was, but I did want to make that point. Is it's so important to do your work and to do your constant self reflection of how you're showing up as a leader, how you're showing up for yourself, for your team, how
No,
you're
absolutely. And I
care.
think you do a great job in that. I follow you on Instagram and love all your posts, but tell me about what you do. You're extremely fit, obviously. You're got an immense amount of energy. What is your daily ritual in order to maintain that level of positivity and energy, and just the way you look as well?
Thank you, thank you. So um, it's a little bit of like, put on your own mask first. And I think it's another thing that we women don't do a good job of. It's a bit of a kind of non-negotiable for me, is that if I don't take care of me, I can't take care of anything or anyone else. I have always prioritized moving my body. I was little. That's my mental sanity. That's where I get my creative. That's where I release whatever negative things that I might be processing. It's where I can really give myself energy, like all those things. It is not non-negotiable for me to not.
I'm the same. Yeah.
And and for people who say I don't have time, I have never had time. You make the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And
Get up
never
earlier. Yeah.
had time. You've never exercised and said, I wish I didn't do that. Ever.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the history of exercise, no one ever has. Maybe if you got injured and you were, foolish or something, but for the most part, when we move our body, nothing but something good comes back.
It's hope molecules. I'm sure you're familiar with what a hope molecule is. There's actually
Yep.
now research being done that exercise releases hope molecules, and it makes you feel better. It gives you energy. It's amazing.
so a lot of my energy comes from the fact that even when I don't want to exercise,
You do
uh,
it anyway.
go, and even if that's a walk, right? But I do things that I love too. Like I love to dance, and I go to dance classes, and I go to boot camps, and I'll do a sculpt yoga, and I play
And you
tennis,
jump rope.
and
For
I
those
jump.
of you who want to see something amazing, check out Lisa's Instagram page and watch her do her tricks.
In third and fourth grade, when I was like 8 and 9 years old. Yes, I was like Colorado State jump rope champ. And the funny part about that, Lisa, is no one knew that I could do this. Like none of my friends, no one, until like I posted something on Instagram 2 years ago, and people were like, "What?" like,
Amazing.
don't expect a grown woman to do that. And I think that's the part that I have really always just tried to be, um, like there's a seriousness of running a business and being very focused, right? And then the other side of me is also incredibly playful, and going back to sort of the
Daily
self-care
routine. Yeah.
daily routine. Like I like having fun is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Laughing, being with friends, being with the people that you love. Like, yes, there's always more to do. And my to-do list is like never ending. But if I don't take that time to nourish myself, not just with food, but doing, moving my body, but being around people that I love that just fill our cup and, give us that just release of just being human, I think we can't then show up, for our business. And
Do you have a spiritual practice?
um, I, yes, ish. I mean, my spiritual practice is being in nature.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much, gratitudes. I mean, every day, morning, night, all day long. I constantly am just like, I am so lucky. I'm so lucky. And I constantly am like, before I go to bed in the morning, I don't always write it down,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll take some quiet space. And even when things are not great, like, still
Find
focus
something.
on that, because there's always a lot that's good. And there's always so much that's good, even when it's not all the things that I want, in
Yeah.
life. Um, I'm in gratitude all the time that
Do you visualize?
a lot. Yeah.
How do you do that?
I think I do it. I don't know. How do I do it? I mean, I'm such a dreamer. So like, whether you're in the shower, whether I'm on my walks, whether I spend a lot of solo time now, especially because my kids are gone. I spend a lot of time driving, a lot of time
Mm-hmm.
um,
Some more daydreaming. What if things
yeah,
could turn out even better than I expected, right? Yeah.
journaling. I think what's important though with your question is I think it's really such an individual thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have tried to be more prescriptive about it. I have tried to be more like, okay, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. That is just not how I am programmed.
Yeah.
It's not. And I've tried it, and I fail over and over again.
It's
But
more about getting in the flow, right? Whether that's music, dancing, being in nature,
yeah,
I think that stimulates that flow state where you can visualize and create.
and my best
Mhm.
flow state, honestly, is being around amazing people. So
Mhm.
if I can be around amazing women, and that fuels me, that then actually puts me into flow state. If I'm isolated, um, I will find every distraction to not do what I need to or want to be doing. So
Interesting.
I need both. Like people who like go put themselves in a cabin somewhere to write a book, um, I would not get anything done because that's just new. But it's also about knowing who you are.
Yeah.
What I do for my spiritual practices, or is going to be different than somebody else. I'm also an Aquarian, so, and I'm a quintessential Aquarian. I mean, we're very free spirited,
Mhm.
and we're dreamers, like just inherently. And so that's sort of already in my programming. So I know myself well enough. And more importantly, I allow myself to do the things that I know are going to fuel me and that are going to inspire me. And I'm not one I don't, I'm not one to restrict. No, no, I can't have that. No, I can't do that. No, I'll do that later. Like I'm very much about celebrating life. And I find the balance in that where I'm incredibly productive, but I also need that playtime.
Amazing. Super inspirational. I think fundraising for women entrepreneurs is a lot harder often than I think for male entrepreneurs. And I think you've done an amazing job, and especially with your latest brand, Chroma. Do you want to share some of the, I think an advice for another female entrepreneur on fundraising and how, to make those amazing connections?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is, do you need to raise money? Like, if you don't need to, don't. And if you are going to raise money, why? So not every business needs to raise money. And so I think even before thinking about like how to raise money, there's a bigger question of like, why do you need to raise money?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just to hold on that point for a second, I think that, we live in a society that, bigger is better. And,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not necessarily always true. And so understanding what it is that you're building and why you're building it, and do you need to raise money? Do you need to create something so big? Or could you just would it be okay just to have one cafe? Did I have 10? Because the one here in Del Mar was really successful. Did I really need to go do 10 and go raise a bunch of money and complicate my life? And, that's how my mind thinks, right? And I had a bigger vision. And so I need to carry that. But I could have had a really successful cafe with just the one. And I
Mm-hmm.
think there's the check-in for like, why do I want to do this? People have really successful businesses at farmers markets. Maybe, maybe do that, right? So I think there's like, let's start there. Then in raising the money, I depends on the kind of business, right? So in my case, more kind of consumer goods. Um, I was raising money. I had to raise money because I didn't have any money, and I needed about 2.5 million um, to
Wow.
to get to market. I ended up raising a lot more than that, but that's what I needed to get to market. And there was no way because we were launching with 21 products, which is another thing. Like,
Wow.
don't do that. I had to do that because we had our 5-day reset and all the products, the 14
Inside of that, yeah, made up the reset
the
box.
reset also
Mm-hmm.
made more available for purchase as individuals so that people could live this lifestyle, which is the whole concept of Chroma, is this kind of Chroma nutrition system. And so it's because it's about the choices that you make every day, not just what you do 5 or 10 or 15 days a year. And so because of the model of Chroma, I had to launch with this many products. Most people launch with one.
Yeah.
So I out of the gate started with something much, much, much more complicated. Don't recommend it, but this was my vision. This is what I had to bring to life, and that was my why. So that being said, I had to raise all this money. And so when you think about that, one of the takeaways from Beaming was, how am I going to raise money from really like friendly money? And like, it's not all money is not created equal. And that's a really important thing to
Yeah.
understand, is that just because someone's offering you $1 million, what are the strings attached to that
Yeah.
million? And that's where
And
I
what's
got
the energy attached to that too, right?
energy attached to that.
Oh
I
my
got
gosh.
kicked with
Yeah.
Beaming because of that. And I just was like, anyone that wanted to give me money, I was like, yes. And then of course they'd be like, okay, I'll give you $1 million, but I want a seat on the board. I was like, okay, that felt like a great deal. Again, I was very naive. And that was the end of Beaming. Like that really was where I failed, because I didn't understand the power of money and the power of a board. So as I went into this one, it was like, I want to raise money from people who energetically are aligned with the vision of the brand, supportive of me, are going to be there with me, not just in the ups, but in the downs, because the downs are inevitable. Hold hands, or are we going to point fingers in those downs, in that down?
How did you uh, find out whether they were in the same mindset as you and knowing that they're going to be there in the downs? Because I think it's always easy to assume that they're going to be there in the ups, but how do you have the conversation to say, hey, what if?
You don't. So what I did,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, part of it, you're going to hopefully listen to your intuition. Your intuition never lies. Um, as Maya Angelou says, when someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them. One of the most important quotes that we all really need to pay attention to. So there is that, because people will show you who they are, and your gut will tell you. That being said, the thing that I did that became really important, that became clear for me in the process, I did talk to lots of VCs, and my gut said not now, because I did not want to give up that much control of my company so early on. And I think it's really important if you can, again, depending on the business, depending on what you're building. Some businesses need 50, $100 million of capital. That's a very different ballgame than what I was playing in. But if you can, you want to maintain control as long as you can. Because ultimately you are the visionary and you need to be the one that brings that to life, not having a million people chirping in your ear. I did not want a million people chirping in my ear, not because I thought I had all the answers, but I trusted my instinct enough to know that I could do, if I had the freedom to think clearly without everyone trying to influence my vision, I could bring it to life. Otherwise, it gets complicated way too early. So it was a non starter for me to take in VC money. And the next question is, okay, so then how do you get it? Through angels, friends and family, what have you. And I came up with the idea, it was during COVID and very hard time to raise money. And I had this vision of what if I raise money from highly influential people that mostly were women, because women are the ones that have megaphones that are for, especially for products like mine, are going to tell the world. I love men, and I think they're really important to also have in the mix. But I knew that the women would be the ones that were going to like scream from the mountaintop. So it's like, what if I raise money from mostly women? It was the celebrity or a business leader and executive that had accomplished great things, or the mom in the community that everybody does what she does, and wanted to make it available for women to that know there was really no limit in what they could invest. I just wanted amazing people involved with really good energy. I was very clear about the vision. You're asking me like, how do I visualize? My vision board of like, here's the map, and then I would put names like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if
So you actually had a vision board.
a vision board on writing, and then
Yeah.
yep.
Great.
And it was like, okay, well, who would I want? Well, Gwyneth Paltrow would be cool. And, like I had my names of like, this would be amazing.
I have goosebumps. That's amazing.
And so it was people that it was like, this would be my dream. And so one by one, I raised money, and I have 100 female investors. I have 15 male investors. And my first check, by the way, women are harder to raise money from, just FYI. My first 3 checks were men. The first check was from the former CEO of Twitter, Dick Costolo. The second was John Callahan, who was the first check in Peloton. And the third check was from Brian Meehan, who's somebody I met at Summit 10 years ago on the boat, saw him speak, was obsessed with him. He was the CEO of Blue Bottle Coffee. I thought he was the most incredible leader. I was like, someday I want him to be part of one of my brands. And he was my third check. So he was on
Wow.
board. So those men then helped me get to other people, made some introductions, one of which was a woman who was a very successful entrepreneur in BC. And she put a very small check in, but she made introductions. And then it just kept going like that. And to the point where one morning I woke up to an email from Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh my gosh.
So it was not an easy process. And every check, every 115 checks was a one by one by one by one. And eventually people just kept hearing about it and they kind of started coming to me for it. But it was a long process. It was a painful process. But the vision that I had is exactly what I created. And it's been a huge part of our success.
Amazing. So where's the company now today, and what is your vision for the next 2 to 5 years?
So the company now, I mean, everything we do is online. So, and we continue to innovate. We've got a very exciting product launch happening in August. It's going to be the first product of its kind, and it's game changing for your health. I've been using it for a month, and I'm just going to tease it out, but it is um, transformative for your guts, transformative for your skin, your hair, your health, your hormones, everything. We've never done a supplement like this before, but when the opportunity presented itself to bring something like this to market that I knew would be game changing, I was all over it. Usually we do food and beverage and snack. We're much more of the pantry,
Yeah.
but this product is it's just so cool. and transformative that I had to do it. But most of the products we do are food based. And I just, I mean, every year we've been growing, 20% or more. Very much a word of mouth brand. I never wanted to build a brand that was dependent on Meta and paid media. And so most of our stuff is really people telling people. And that's really just foundational. I think it's the most powerful way to grow and the most authentic way to grow. I just hired a CEO uh,
Wow.
to run the company. I've been CEO since the beginning, and I made the choice that it was time for me to bring in someone else who could partner with me and allow this person to run the day to day and free me up to go do what I do best and what I love to do, which is really interacting with the world, podcasts, speaking, um, creating content, um, being out in the world, product development, brand, all the visionary stuff. And a lot of people were like, why would you do that? Like, you had such success running the company. It's too soon. And I just felt like for me, and this is again a check in for everyone, I didn't have an ego with this. I don't need to
Hmm.
build a $1 billion brand and be
But
CEO.
you'll still be the face of Chroma, right?
Yeah, I actually want to go do the things that I love.
Hmm.
I don't have anything to prove at this point. I want Chroma to be successful. I want as many people to know about it because our products are incredible and they're delicious and they're transformative and they're easy and they're enjoyable and I'll keep creating. I want How can we get Chroma out and give more people access to it? And how can I make sure that I'm having a lot of fun in the process and able to spend even more time with my kids and continue to do the things that I love? And it was time. And I'm really proud of that decision.
Yeah. To
I,
get it to a place where you can hand it over to somebody else to run is a huge accomplishment.
Even when I went through the beaming stuff, I was like, if I can help somebody else and another woman not go through what I went through, even if it's just one,
Hmm.
that would be a win and that would be worth all of it. So I think that social media is such a tricky one because it's such a personal thing. I'm finding my way right now into like, what is that expression going to be for me and getting comfortable with that. You and I didn't grow up in the generation where there's a camera in our face everywhere we went and you just start talking. Like, that's not a natural thing. And so I'm learning that. I really love podcast conversations because it's just you and I having a conversation. And I really do enjoy that. And I think the more authentic we can be, the more people can connect
Yeah,
because
absolutely. Yeah.
and I think the more we women can also be authentic, the more that we start to break down some of these walls and facades.
So I don't know. We talked a lot about chroma in general. I have matcha here. I drink at least 3 of these cups a day. I love it. I don't go to bed without having my matcha before I go to bed. But the detox program is incredible. I did that a couple of times over the last year, and you just feel so clean, and you lose weight and all of that. But do you want to tell more about some of the other products you have and how
Yeah.
people can reach you?
Yeah. So, I mean, so Chroma, as I was mentioning earlier, I kind of refer to it now as sort of a nutrition system. And it's not prescriptive as much as it's everything from functional foods and beverages like a bone broth that you just add water and it feels so nourishing and it's got 15 grams of protein in it and it tastes delicious and you can drink it alone or you can add protein and vegetables or use it as a saute. Our adaptogen lattes, the beauty matcha is my go-to as well. I cannot go a day without it.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Best mood ever. In fact, I'm going to have one after our conversation. The fact that you do 3 times a day, you're beating me. I do twice. Although I do a really big one in the morning, but it has, depending on how many scoops you use, I use 3. So I get like 18 grams of collagen protein and I got ginger and turmeric and mushrooms and maca and you feel so good. It's so
Uh-huh.
good for your skin, your hair, your nails, your joints. It's got the L-theanine, so it's really great for focus and clarity. Um, that gives you some caffeine without the jitters. mean, there's so much good in that drink, and like it's been game changing for me. Like if there's one product that I cannot live without, it's that one.
Yeah, I'm the same.
But I mean, there's the porridge that has the nuts and the seeds and all the omegas, and it's high in protein. Our new plant-based smoothies took me 3 years to reformulate, and I'm so proud of them because I think they're the best plant protein mixes on the market. There's no better smoothie than these. There's coconut milk and coconut water in them. I used a proprietary blend of 3 different plant proteins that's never been done before. There's mushrooms in it. It tastes delicious. It's got 20 grams of protein in it.
Wow.
All you need is water, and you can shake it up. You don't have to make a big smoothie that has 600 calories. You can, but you can also just mix it with water because I've already added the coconut milk and coconut water. I mean, all the products, the cookie butter is divine.
I love the cookie butter. That's like so decadent. Oh my goodness.
So good. But one little bite, like I'll have it before a workout. Our magnesium at night is the best sleep agent ever. You'll sleep better than, and your digestion. So it'll help with movement in the morning. Great for cellular recovery, especially after workouts. Our cranberry hydration elixir, I think, is the best hydration. It's got a little cayenne and ginger, so it revs your metabolism. It doesn't have that fake sweet taste. All of those products there are also in the 5-day reset. So that's what makes it a system, is because you get to have all these products every day. You get to have the beauty matcha and the bone broth and the porridge and the smoothies and all the things every day. And then when you lose weight, feel great, look great, you can keep using them every day, so you can keep all the good going. And that's the Chroma system. And that's what was most important to me, is to really give people the tools to thrive every day, not just 5 days.
Mm-hmm. And I think one thing about the detox that's really amazing is that most people think of a detox and go, oh my God, it's going to be torture for 3 or 5 days to go on a detox. And what I found surprising about your detox is that I was never hungry. I never craved anything. There was enough sweet in there. And there was multiple meals throughout today that I think I didn't even always eat everything that was prescribed on the detox, for every day.
I've never believed that we should, like, especially for women, that we have to starve ourselves to look and feel good in our body.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about having a positive relationship with food that's going to lead to really true wellness.
Yeah.
And, you get 10 foods, beverages, and snacks a day, and most people cannot finish them. And you can customize. So you can add if you need more. If you're, young and have a higher metabolism, or you are an athlete, or you work out, because I want you to exercise every day. I don't want you to be depleted. I want you to be able to show up for work and your family. And I think our program is the only program that I've ever seen that actually fuels you and doesn't deplete you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also helps you just get in tune with your body and really start tasting good foods again. And which I think sometimes you get away from when we get too busy and stressed out. So it's kind of a reset, both mentally and physically, I think. Yeah. Well, I would love everyone to try your amazing products. Like I said, I'm a huge fan, use it every day myself. Where can they find your brand? And, can we offer a discount to our listeners?
Let's do that. So chromawellness.com, and it's Chroma with a K, Kroma, wellness.com. Also on Instagram. Let's do a 20% discount, and we'll just make it, what would be a great discount code?
Just LFW 20, leading for wellness 20. Yeah.
W20 for 20%, and that's 20% off anything. But I highly recommend, if you haven't had Chroma before, start with the 5-day reset. And if not that, start with the matcha, because that's Lisa's and my favorite.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Lisa. It was so wonderful to speak with you and sharing so many personal and business tips. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's fun.
Thank you so much for tuning into Leading for Wellness. This podcast is powered by Kalon Executive Search. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform. And to learn more about our services, you can visit us at kalonstaffing.com or follow us on Instagram at kalonstaffing.